Welcome back to Morning Express, and it's time for us to look at State of the Nation. And of course, this morning we'd like to look at a few things. But first, let me introduce the panel that we have this morning. We have Senator for Makueni County, and that is none other than Mutula Kilonzo Jr. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us. It's been a while since we had you on set.
It's a pleasure.
Good to have you.
Mombasa Road is still not the place to be in the morning.
In the morning. Well, you guys sometimes have the privilege of choppers and things like that, so maybe we'll take one. We have a landing pad here.
Not where I come from. It's only available to the Sky team.
Okay, welcome though. We also have Bwana Eric Kiraithe, who's a government spokesman. Good to have you. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking time to be with us. All right, gentlemen, now quite a number of things to talk about here, but let's start first of all with the question of the day that we have this morning. And this is to do with something that the country is grappling with and has grappled with for a long time: graft and corruption. But we have seen a back and forth from both the opposition and government, and a blame game. And the question we were asking this morning, is that helping us as a nation? Let me start with you, Senator.
It's unfortunate, I must say, that now it has become that now that the opposition is part of the corruption, therefore now you have sanitized corruption. And therefore it's a question of how many people in the opposition and the ones in national government have been sharing in the corruption. So unfortunately for us as a country, we have lost the agenda. The agenda has now turned political. The public will not find out. If you go and accuse, yesterday I was being told that there's a certain county that has matters that they want to raise about a governor, but they cannot raise them now, because if they do, it will look as if it's political. And it has become a problem. We, the senators, when we raise issues about corruption, we are accused either of interfering or something like that. When the president engages directly like he did, and I listened to one of the posts yesterday, when he was in Nyeri, extremely disappointing for his stature. To reduce the agenda on corruption to a matter of sabotage, to a matter of politics is sad. One, because you have not seen in the last 3 years something that you would call tangible. If you ask the common man out there, do you think that we have done enough to purge corruption? They will tell you no. But for us, the people who sit on desks and laptops, they will tell you there are 380 cases pending in court. People from NYS were taken to court recently. They will tell you the X, Y, Z. But ask yourself a question. If Kafura was an ordinary, just the other ordinary Kenyan, who went and collected 50 million shillings in a sack, cutted it away, would they be walking the way she was, getting press coverage the way she was? People have been known to be in jail for 3 years for stealing a chair. That is the problem about corruption. That for the purpose of the common man walking on the street outside these offices today, as far as it's concerned, corruption is part of public life. Yesterday I said at the Senate that corruption has become the 48th county, where the loyalty pledge is there's no honor among thieves, everybody's equal, there's no position, there's no government, everybody is the same, everybody steals, and it's okay. That is something that we cannot deal with. And lastly, you've just mentioned the question of debt, that we have hit debt ceiling up to 600 billion. That is the cost of corruption. That is the end of the equation. The end of the equation that is, while we have so much waste, while we cannot tell Kenyans why they are paying taxes, the debt ceiling has overshot since independence. Those are the issues.
Senator, when we look at our leadership from the top, and this has been said commonly that it's the president who's supposed to deal with it, but now we also, within the Constitution, do know that the power lies with the people. What power can we use now as the people to ensure that this corruption ends? Because at the end of the day, it looks like goodwill from the top may not be as strong as it should be.
See, there's an article in the Constitution which is not commonly referred to, but it's Article 254(2), where the President, the National Assembly, or the Senate can call for a report at any time on any issue from an independent office or commission. I don't believe the narrative that I've heard that the President is powerless. I don't believe the narrative where the President says in a meeting, says, you cheated me, Wako, you cheated me, you gave me a wrong list. I don't believe in that narrative. The correct position is that my own reading of that article in the Constitution, it means that the president can demand for an independent institution to give him a report weekly or monthly or biannually. So it's not enough to sit in a meeting and say, you have 380 cases, 10 have been prosecuted, 5 have not. Now, if you look at the law that was passed in 2003, the law is as old as it can be. And I was privileged to represent Dr. Andrew Mulay, one of the people who was prosecuted under this law, the law on corruption. And we did this case for 3 weeks continuously without a break. What is the reason why cases are adjourned? The law says it's a day-to-day basis. We have special courts. Nothing has happened. And people have the liberty sometimes to even say, can you give me another date? I'm flying to Dubai. When I come back, I'll come and answer the charges. That's the problem. And therefore, when players in this industry sit together in a meeting and everybody seems to think that you can blame the other, it's your mistake, it's your prosecution. The fact of the matter is that Kenyans are not interested in who is not doing their job. Kenyans are interested in the results. Is there corruption or not? If there's corruption, who has been charged? Is the judiciary doing enough? Is the judiciary giving, for example, Governor Mutua too many injunctions? Is the judiciary giving other governors too many injunctions and stopping prosecution when they shouldn't? That is the point.
That is the point.
Is Governor Wambora, we call him Governor Wambora through the court, has he been offered too much leeway through the court where the Senate cannot impeach him because you impeach him, he goes to court, gets an injunction? That is what you are talking about. Is it a time where you sit down and say, you're not doing your job? Okay. Simple.
Eric Kirai, the government spokesman, your comments and, of course, the fact that Kenyans generally are feeling frustrated. Right now on KTN News, we have what we are calling 47 days of accountability, where we are going county to county, looking at the Auditor General's report and basically what it means. And all counties have been caught flat-footed. But, of course, that's at a county level. But even when we look at the national government, there seems to be no win in this war against graft.
Mike, thank you actually for this morning. And thank you for putting me here with Honorable Mutura. He's one of those legal minds I respect a lot in Kenya. And I must say he's one of the few level-headed politicians we have so far. Unfortunately, they are just too few.
Thank you for the compliment.
But what I would want to say is that I hold a different view on corruption. In this country, there has been a lot of corruption. Historically, right from the days we were with him. Actually, when he defended Mulay, Dr. Mulay was my boss.
Yes.
And I believe the prosecution of Dr. Mulay was itself corruption.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you differ with that. What has happened is
I mean, the prosecution was malicious.
It was corruption, whichever way you look at it. And
why do you say that?
And okay, no, we want to go back there.
Okay, all right,
let me move fast forward. That is, Excellency the President, after people talked in low tones, now it is good we have a headline that Kalonzo benefited from NYS land. It is good we have that opposition people have been key players.
Is it also good that we have some people in government who are key players as well?
It is good that we have people in government who have been prosecuted. All this is now coming out because His Excellency the President brought the discussion on corruption right to State House. It was a first. And you see, he has released everybody. It is like when pastors, fathers, priests stood up and said, we are also victims of HIV/AIDS. Prior to that, we had been talking about witchcraft, we had been talking about whatever, Chira and all that. But that is when the actual fight on HIV/AIDS started. And I think Kenya has reached the peak in terms of appreciating the width, depth, and height of corruption in this country. You remember there were days here, heads of sinking parastatals were taking money to State House, and it looked very normal. It would be covered by newspapers. From the days of those days to today, we have covered a lot of distance. Look at, for example, the case of Rio. Although the CID has not been shouting they're investigating it, they have gone down to the call. Until today, they are saying, these are the games kit, and this is the person who had kept them. When you look at the case of NYS, a lot of people tried to look tough. They went to parliament and they were convincing people. They are today in court. What Honorable Mutula is saying, especially when he cites the case of Wambora, when he cites the fact that he himself has had to attend court 3 weeks in a row, and this also came out very well in State House, is that our judiciary needs to touch base with the reality and speed those things which should be speeded. Remember that a statement from the judiciary, that there is a statement they always give, that the level of investigation was shoddy. It is supposed to be a very serious indictment. When I joined the police service earlier on, and I was an investigator, an inspector, and so on, if the court ever said a case you investigated was shoddy, that was an automatic disciplinary offense, and it was a serious one. It could lead to reduction in rank, it could lead to a reprimand, it led to several dismissals.
Is that still the case even now?
So, what has happened is that all our institutions must be sensitive and must wake up. And there was another issue also. If a magistrate or a judge who had benefited from a case went on and used shoddy investigations as a cover, he himself was subject to some level of proceedings, indictment, and some, without necessarily publicizing it, were asked to go and try their luck elsewhere. This is the level of institutionalism we should get back to.
Okay.
That the president raised the alarm, that the president told the institutions that EAC, you are just lying, cooking stories, that the courts, you are just there to give corruption more time, what has been echoed here, that investigators, I need to see your work. The president was saying what everybody was saying under the table. Unfortunately, the opposition, where my friend here belongs, picked it up and they started blaming him. But we have seen results. We now know those who are blaming him using the loudest mouths were part of the conspirators. Okay. And they were just shouting to cover their own party net.
All right.
Now that we have agreed with it, let me give you a way forward. We have agreed we are sick. What we should do is intensify the treatment, is intensify the fight, and individually and collectively stop taking part in corruptions. And Mutula, your political parties should not nominate criminals into parliament, should not clear them to run in their parties. You are the politician, I am not, and I think this will send a very big message.
Mutula Kilonzo Jr., do you agree that the president literally brought corruption and put it on the table, and as a result, that's why we're having the discussion as we are, to the level that we are, and that is a good thing, which maybe the opposition ought to have applauded him for, as opposed to just fighting him against it?
Let me just say this, that I don't believe that he brought it on the table. It was already on the table. And I also don't believe that the fact that you're having all players seated on a table where everybody is watching makes it any better. You know, we are talking too much. When you have the Attorney General seated there and the DPP seated there, the DCI seated there, you're talking too much. What is it that you and I, the ordinary person, forget about the fact that all of us want to look as if we are doing our jobs for purposes of feeding the media with correct information or what politically correct information. The fact is we should be discussing the results. What are the challenges? I've not had any challenges. What are the challenges? Are we saying the judiciary doesn't have enough magistrates to have special courts to prosecute crime? EACC, every time, now we are doing the budget policy statement for the next budget. Every time I see the budget for EACC, it increases. They're asking for more money every year. Is it that they don't have enough resources? Last week or 2 weeks ago, we were seated investigating a county government where they transferred 304 million shillings to a lady who works in the county assembly. That case has been pending at EACC for 12 months. Question, is it that EACC doesn't have enough resources? So as opposed to sitting there enjoying a cup of tea and being in the lawns of State House, I would myself be asking fundamental questions. And the fundamental questions are these, that the CEO misled the president. Let's agree. And he says, you misled me. Why is he still in office? Now, there is an investigation going on at the Ministry of Health. Whether the investigation will prove that the draft audit was wrong or not. What are the principles that I'm talking about so far as Dr. Mule is concerned? The fact that somebody is under investigation, that person cannot be in office. Those are I'm talking about principles of corruption. That first, Muraguri should not be in office. He should be out of office as they're investigating him. Two, we should be talking about whether the Chief Justice is saying you need to appoint for me and give me more special magistrates so that I can prosecute these people as fast as possible. If the CEO of the commission has a problem, you fire him immediately. You're the boss. Three, if you then go back to the institutional problems that you found with the chairman, we are no longer discussing that institutional issue. Does it appear as if there was a conspiracy to appoint a chairman who is a beneficiary of corruption? Those are the issues.
Those are the questions that
fundamental questions.
All right.
Not who. This thing about I am the whistleblower. This thing that has become so famous. I'm the whistleblower. Please reward me for whistleblowing. What are you talking about?
Precisely. And Eric, right as you come in, the thing is we have spent so much time as a country discussing people.
Yes.
Discussing who did what, who has not done what. And this is the blame game that I was talking about, where you have the opposition saying, yes, there's this one who's implicated. Yes. And the government, as it were, feels like it's a good thing to come out and say, no, actually, it's not just us. Even you, there's this one. But where is the action? Yes. Where is the conviction? Where are those people who have been named? And even to use the Deputy President's example, he said that the evidence before everybody right now should have, for instance, a former CS before the courts. Yes. She is not.
She's not.
Let me, Mike, put one thing into proper perspective. It is right and normal for the opposition to criticize anything and everything.
Yeah, because that's their work.
It is their work. It is right and it is not
right
criminal. Yeah? It is nothing bad about that. And therefore, when they criticize what the president said, it is right. But the question I'm asking in terms of action, has it given the fight more momentum, especially in the executive and in the other independent organs? And to me, the answer is yes. Another thing I would want to warn...
Maybe before you continue from there, you said the answer is yes. How? Because all it has done is bring to the table that so-and-so was actually caught in graft. And when we look at history, and the good thing is that history does not lie. We look at the defense that was given towards, for instance, Anne Waiguru, with even the State House spokesman coming out to defend her. But over time, it has proved to be different. Now the Deputy President is saying that if, I think it was Murkomen, Senator Murkomen, who said if Waiguru is not convicted, we might as well.
Forget about corruption.
Forget about corruption.
But even as he answers the question, I want to know, you're my good friend.
Yes.
Just explain how. To me, I just want to understand the way a nursery school child would understand A and B. How it is helpful that the president appears frustrated. The head of state appears frustrated by bureaucracy. How it appears helpful. He should appear as if he's more in charge as opposed to... That's what I want to know.
This is very simple. We have a president who is natural, who is normal and honest. If he is disappointed, he says it. I think it is not wrong to have presidents who are honest. There is something I wanted to caution Honorable Mutula about. I am one of those people who felt very disappointed.
Yes.
And very many in Central Bank that time and even now feel disappointed that Honorable Dr. Mulei was hounded out of office.
Yes.
Because of gutter press.
It's a fact.
Because there are politicians who felt very strongly that he had soiled their ban.
Yes.
Now, the same Mutula who has the facts is seated here saying, because Muragoli was in the Ministry of Health when an audit was commissioned, we don't know the results of the audit yet. He doesn't know.
No, but we know the money that was paid.
Is not that money. Nobody has proved that it was fraudulently paid.
No.
The point is this:
it was paid by
Honorable
him.
Mutula, by all means, I insist.
Yeah.
And if you fell on the same trap, maybe I would be
What
the
does the
only
law
Kenyan.
say about investigation?
I'll be the only Kenyan. This man is not an investigation.
Allow me, gentlemen.
I would be able to defend him because
But ministers were fired on
wait,
Allow me,
allegations.
gentlemen.
wait, we cannot repeat the same mistakes.
But it's a
Don't-
principle.
Don't wait until you have sacked everybody for nothing, then we are regretting.
No,
Allow
it's
me,
suspension.
gentlemen,
go by
Suspension.
evidence.
allow me to take a call from Kenyans and hear what they have to say. Let's take a call from Dennis in Cabernet. Dennis, good morning and thank you for calling.
Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, Dennis.
My greetings to Mutula Traded.
Greetings to you.
Yes. I want to start from where Traded is leading there.
Sorry?
I want to say it seems like our opposition are really struggling to accept that they are good and sometimes they are not want to face them. Like, for instance, they are confusing the nation sometimes.
They have what?
They are confusing the nation. When they don't speak things right way they need to. For example, when there is corruption in the court side, they need to tell the nation that there is corruption and we are not defending. But not that now this is interim, this is not the spot. Yet when other mention they are saying step down. So it's double speaking, I say that.
All right, Dennis, unfortunately, the call is not very
It's
clear.
not very, but we understood what he said.
Okay, I think we've got the gist of it, but it's not very clear. So let me move on to Margaret in Nyeri. And if you have any calls, this would be a good time to do that. Margaret in Nyeri, but I think we got the main thing of what Dennis is saying. Margaret, good morning, and thank you for calling.
Hello?
Margaret, I'll request that you put off your television, the volume, or put it off completely. Otherwise, we'll have a problem communicating. But straight to your comments.
Yes, hello, Michael.
Yes, Margaret.
And good morning to the two gentlemen who are with you.
Good morning to you.
I'm happy because the two gentlemen are really men we respect in this country, especially the Senator and Eric. I want to say that it's good what is happening with corruption. The opposition speaking out loud and the government trying to do the best it can. But I'm amazed at what is happening with Amazon Kingi. Why is he being escorted by opposition leaders when he's being cited as there's a problem in Kilifi? I don't want the opposition to have double standards. Can our leaders be like the way I saw Senator Mutula Kalonzo act in the Senate? He's very impartial. Even now, can they be impartial whether they're in opposition or in government? Corruption is corruption, and there's no two way about it. Let them prosecute whoever is corrupt, however high they may be in government. That's what we want as Kenyans.
All right.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Margaret, for your call. Mutula Jr., maybe just your comments on the opposition seeming to, as it was, like she says, escort Kingi when he is implicated.
We, the senators, have expressed a lot of disappointment where governors have been put to task, and where they, first of all, now blame IFMIS. I don't know, IFMIS has become an animal that walks around their offices, and in corruption, blame the Auditor General. We have stated clearly, and we are ready to say it again, that it's not excusable for governors who are code-affiliated to practice corruption, and then we appear to shield them. We have criticized even members of our Senate who have appeared to shield them. While you defend the right that every person is innocent until proven otherwise, the fact is that you must condemn corruption with the same gusto, if it's at national government and if it is at county government. If it's corruption in Makueni County, I've said this is corruption. It walks like a duck, looks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, and it is a duck, and you refuse to be associated with it. And therefore, this is what I'm saying, that even the public, and that is what the gentleman from Carbonet is saying, is confusing. It's confusing that since it's like the Bible, it's the only way you get to it. If it's a law, that is the way to do it. The law is clear that if a person, whether in office...
As a solution, the government...
I'm coming to you, Eric, right there. Let me just finish with him in regards to corruption. And Mutula Kilonzo Jr., what is your statement regarding those corrupt elements within the opposition?
They should be treated the same as any other criminal. There's no corruption in opposition. There's no corruption in national government.
Corruption is corruption.
It is a crime to misappropriate, misapply, misuse, or abuse public funds and public office.
Okay, let's come to you, Bonairiki, right there.
What I'm saying is that I agree with him on one thing, and we should go a little bit further. All these guys mentioned with corruption have stolen money from the government, put it in their pockets, and put it in the pockets of those whom they like or those whom assisted them. What the public should be looking at, and what we are asking now Kenyans to look at very carefully, is that the thieves and their friends, the thieves and their friends, in Meru, where I come from, we say, there is no thief and their escort. So, to the extent that in court, the thieves have found escorts who are very shameless, that is a statement Kenyans should not lose sight of. It speaks more than any words they have told us.
Does that apply to national government?
I would want, it applies
even Jubilee,
to national government across the board.
Thank you.
One thing I will also defend, because he says the law is the only solution to this. Our own character, the way we shame people, if we have a party celebrating thieves and protecting them, let's take note of that and write it somewhere at the corner of our ballot paper, that voter's card. The other thing,
unfortunately, they'll be elected, boss.
It's good you are saying unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But it's because some of us have campaigned for them.
True.
The government has not campaigned for any thief whatsoever. And what we are doing for us in the government, and I will cite again the Afia House issue, is that the government, under the leadership of His Excellency and the Deputy President, has said ministries should work within their systems to ensure that corruption is stopped and people are punished. And therefore, if a ministry commissions an audit and it shows indicators on where forensic auditors should go, let us not condemn them for a good job.
Okay.
And I also agree with him. Kenyans should not be told if miss what is responsible. No. It is the people in charge who are responsible.
And
but
if Mrs. Rando, by
let us not persecute them the way we persecuted Dr. Mulei.
I know.
Yeah. All right. I'll take a call from Nalo in Siaya, but I want us to move on to something else. Nalo in Siaya, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to contribute, if you can give me the opportunity.
Please go right ahead. You're on air right now as we speak.
Yes, now, please, I wanted to say as follows. We are in a situation in which we could have needed a Solomonic wisdom to know what is happening. And the situation as it is, we have, this thing started when Waiguru denied vehemently, and the whole government was behind her, that no money had been stolen. And as it is today, we are now seeing a situation where so many other perpetrators of corruption have been sought and linked to corruption. The question is, do we get a corrupt person and prosecute? Or when we get a corrupt person, we go and look for other corrupt people and now say, I'm not the only one who is corrupt. so and so is also corrupt. As it is in Nairobi today, don't just see somebody stealing and say that is a thief. There would be so many thieves around him, and such that if you say so is a thief, you'd end up being even mob justice, because the thieves will say he is the one who really stolen. So
All right.
we are in that kind of situation, and it is very clear to us as members of the public what is happening. What we want to see is what is happening to those who have stolen, not going to look for, if I get a thief, I prosecute a thief. I don't go to look for another person who has stolen. That is the point.
Thank you very much, Nalo in Siaya. We'll take the last call from Sarah regarding corruption. Sarah in Eldoret, good morning, and thank you for calling.
Good morning to you.
Yes.
Yeah, also I want to contribute. I'm not satisfied with.
Sarah?
Hello, good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I'm blaming the government. They should stop politicizing corruption. Instead, work on it. They have the machineries, and they're the ones who are leading this country. When going to press, calling the press, going to rallies, answering the opposition or blaming the opposition will not give the solution.
All right.
If they have the evidence that even the opposition is involved in corruption scandals, they should take them to court. Why are they politicizing corruption? They're making it look like a football match.
All right. Thank you, Sarah, for your comments. And I think that's where we'll wind up with corruption, because I want us to move on to something else because of time. And this is to do with a critical time that we are as a country. The 2017, August, we go to the polls. Currently, we still look like we're at limbo when it comes to the IEBC. I'll start with you, Senator, in terms of the timelines. There are certain timelines that were put in place that we should have the commissioners out of office, the Issa Carson-led commissioners, and have new commissioners in place. That seems to be moving over time. Is that putting ourselves at a point where it's getting dangerous?
Yes. Let me. I must say I'm a little disappointed by even the selection panel in terms of the re-advertisement. The effort that went into coming up with the election amendments bills and the election offences bill by the committee in which I sat as a member respected the timeline. One of the principles, pillars that guided our work was that we will not move the date of the general election.
And that still remains, I would like to believe.
And that remains the principle, that 8th of August is not going to move. You can move anything else, but that you cannot move. Now, so the selection panel is aware. National government is aware. I was disappointed at some point when there was commencement of the law. You could not see the goodwill. You could not see the goodwill. Now, by the time they finish this work, they're supposed to send these commissioners to the National Assembly for approval before the president appoints them. Now, what would I expect as a person? I would say that you would have strict timelines, that you have a timeline that must be followed. There are two things which I don't know, I hope will not be affected, which have not been affected. One is the audit of the register, which must be done 8 months to the general elections, 6 months to the general elections, which is February. And 2, procurement. Procurement, the date is 7th of December. It's 8 months to the elections. Fortunately, the regulations on the technology have now come to the Senate and National Assembly, and there's robust discussion about it. That is an ongoing process. But you have what we call an audit of the register. And this morning, I know you have never read this bill. I've brought it for you so that by the time you ask me the questions, you can read this. Because the timelines are very clear. It is very clear in this law that you're going to have an integrated voter and a vote system and result transmission. So it means that after the commissioners come into office, they must ensure that we have a system that is going to deliver what you call EVID, BVR, and RTS, result transmission system, public portal, where you can send results, and many other things. Those are the things that I'm talking about. So, but is there hope? You have 8 months to the general elections. The only thing that gives me hope is this, that the last general elections, these kits were purchased in January and February, a month before the general elections. We don't want to get there because we envision that you should test these kits 60 days to the elections. 60 days is the month of May. So if we put, and maybe you can use your position, Mr. Kirai, then, to seek the executive. I've said the executive is, people have given this impression that we have a powerless head of state, that the head of state cannot give directions. The head of state is a leader, can give directions. He's not supposed to say, please appoint Kirai the chairman, but he can say, whatever it is that you're doing, we must ensure that we do not move any goalpost. Make sure that we have this done as quickly as possible. If we have to cancel whatever we need to cancel, if we have to work until 24th of December before Christmas, we must ensure, let it be, so that Kenyans can have, because let me tell you, if there's one thing left that can give prosperity to this country, is an election that is accurate, verifiable, simple, and by 9th of August, 2017, all of us can go back to our businesses. Those who have lost can go home. Those who have won can be sworn in, and business continues. That is the country you need. And that is what I'm looking forward to, because it took a lot of time. The people who sat in this committee, the 14 of us, we did not adjourn. We sat for 30 days, sometimes 14 hours, 16 hours a day. So, some people were sick, and they worked throughout. There's no reason why the selection panel and everybody involved should not work day and night to ensure that we meet the deadlines.
Okay.
All is not lost. We have lost a lot of time.
All right.
But please, can you start preaching the gospel out there to the public that all is not lost? We still have 8 months to the next general election. We are still not yet in a crisis position yet.
All right. Bwana Eric Kirai, the country obviously is at a point where it could tilt and go either way. And this is at a point where the perception when it comes to the election is very critical, which is why I think the Isaac Hassan team had to leave just purely because of perception. Because if it was going to go by law, they still a legal process to find them guilty or not guilty. But because of perception, there had to be a change, which of course has been implemented. Now, there has been word from the opposition that these are delays which are intentional. First of all, your comments to that.
My comments is that the government has put the committee selected under a lot of pressure. And let me remind you that from August, we didn't have a chief justice, we didn't have these people in place, and therefore they could not be sworn in. But the government worked with the institutions which were doing everything to ensure that everything is done correctly. Now, what they are, like the cancellation of these interviews of the chairman, as much as we have put the people we have given this responsibility through this law under pressure, because of the conduct of politicians, you have said Isaac Hassan is leaving because of perception. It is not because of perception only. It is because we created that perception through Honorable Mutula and his company of Kardashians,
come on,
who look for every opportunity to create chaos. And we therefore moved to that level to avoid chaos, a very primitive way of doing things. Be that as it may, we are where we are. These people whom we choose, religious people, we agreed on them. Nobody has questioned their integrity.
No.
Look at what the people of Kenya are saying about Mutura, Eric and Mike, and say, these are not the people we want to give Kenyans as the chairman of IABC. We are not in a crisis. They have been communicated to. And His Excellency himself is very concerned. But they have said, give us an opportunity to select somebody we shall go in the grave happy with. And a lot of Kenyans of integrity, we have seen this even with the ethics and corruption, are just refusing to apply. People are saying, if this is what I will take as public responsibility for, wacha nikae. And therefore, what I can say this morning, I don't know whether their deadline has expired. Kenyans of integrity, don't fear. Cowardice is not a solution to anything. Come out, apply for this position so that the people doing the selection will have the confidence, because it is one thing to hurry them, then they give us a fellow we shall never be comfortable with. They give us a fellow today, tomorrow in the newspapers, because Kenyans always act after the fact, there are pages and pieces of what kind of person he is. Like this Kinusu man. Kinisu.
Philip Kinisu.
I call him Kinisu because it was a half measure. You know, we were clever by half.
Kanusu.
We were clever by half. So instead of having a person and somebody is mischievously waiting to present to you a dossier, I think that commission requires all our support. And I literally say all our support in terms of applications. In fact, it's only that I have not had time. And I know that Mutula will say from spokesman for this government to whatever. I would have applied. We need Kenyans of integrity, wherever they are, with the experience. Because
but you can
one of the
still
things
resign
they suffered
and apply.
is they were actually unable to proceed because what they thought they have after the public. It is a constitution which said involve the public, and I think it's a great thing. After the public made their submissions on those individuals, they said no.
Let me tell you something, my friend. Let me tell you something.
Tell it to me.
This is dangerous.
Tell me.
And if you can still resign and apply, you see, there's a problem about perception, because Eric Kiraithe, chances are that if you apply, somebody out there can say, "I don't like your hair," correct? So the fact is that that person must be given a right. Under Article 47, it's called Fair Administrative Act. We all know why Professor Makau Mutua was not chosen to be CJ, but he was given the opportunity to present. You know, when you cancel it in that manner, these are, first of all, the criteria of choosing a chairman is that person should be a lawyer and capable of becoming a Supreme Court judge. So you're first of all looking for a professional. So when you cancel 5 people and you say we have received memorandum about these people, which is not public, what have you done to the reputation of those people? I'm just talking about process,
Mutula,
my friend.
blowing hot and cold.
No,
With
but
the
I'm
same
telling
mouth.
no,
Do they need, that would have been time. You have just shown the dire need, the dire consequences in which you are in terms of time.
So somebody says one day you step on their tomato and then you cancel your name.
It is good you are an officer of the court in this country.
Yes.
You know, our courts
It's called fair process.
and our judicial processes are very hypocritical. You can see things, and that's why you take somebody who has stolen, then you are being told technicalities. This is where you are driving us. If this committee sat down and saw these are not fit and proper people, you don't
After
wait.
advertising their
you
names.
don't wait until you have consumed. We have 8 months, and you have the timelines, which you are saying are cast in stone, and which you are even asking the president to enforce. Oh my God! Now, if we start losing another month in a circus, and you have seen it, the presentations have made to you. You have carried out your due diligence and said, hang on, I need to deal with another list. Let me tell you, this, a few minutes ago, that fair administrative process, you bluntly refused to offer it to one Muraguri of Afia House.
He should go home. He should be suspended. That's the law.
Without that fair process, he should go home.
He should be suspended.
Now you are saying this committee interviews the wrong people, knowing that, and they get themselves into a Kinisu situation.
Let me explain.
Let's put it very clearly here. And I am asking you today, advocates, don't lose battles. Kindly lose this one.
No, I'm not going to accept.
Let us give this committee all the support they require, or the leverage, whichever, even if they come into the secretariat today, I would work for 26 hours.
Let me explain something.
So that we have
let me explain something.
Yes,
don't allow him.
And without politicizing,
yes,
and without making it sound politically correct.
I didn't say anything political.
No, I'm just saying.
Michael Tonga, listen carefully. I'm talking about process. Let me just bring to your attention, and Mr. Kiraithe, because it's possible that he doesn't know, how the people who were shortlisted for the position of Chief Justice ended up being interviewed after they were the names were
including some who
were not even qualified.
Correct.
Because the court was of the view that it is not an obligation in law for you to come with a certificate of good conduct to an interview. What does that tell you? It tells you that, strictly speaking, that this information ought to be available before you shortlist. You can request for it from whoever it is who gives this information. And that information is given to you so that you are told, by the way, this fellow has a criminal record, do not shortlist him for the interview. You do that in advance so that then they do not come. But if you shortlist a person and
and
you know,
by
let
the
me
way,
tell you,
on authority,
it's possible.
don't labor too much because you want only your position to be heard. By the
allow him
way,
to finish.
even those 5 people,
You should
are
allow me
still
to finish.
free. No, I don't want us
After you have been castigated.
to confuse the viewers on a non-matter. We don't know. Maybe they wanted to cast the net wider, and those 5 people are still free to what?
To apply.
But the concerns of Kenyans,
All right.
who will form the perception, must be respected. Must
Okay.
be respected.
That's why Mr. Kiraithe is a policeman and I'm a lawyer. You
Yes.
cannot do that.
And that
But-
is
but-
why
but-
Jesus
but-
said,
but-
and that is why Jesus said, the law is for non-believers.
All right, Senator. No. Senator, and
Don't
the fact that
misquote
you're a
the-
lawyer, and I want to understand here, for the benefit of all of us, you're saying that Muraguri should go home without due process.
No,
On the
yes.
other
No.
hand- on the other hand,
No, let me
finish.
explain. It's in the law that if you are under investigation, and there's a principle of law to it. If you are an accounting officer under investigation, if there's an investigation, you are suspended. It's in the law. It's public
But
service.
is he
he
being
knows.
investigated? Is an audit an investigation?
He's the person who authorized the expense, and therefore they want to check whether the process was correct. And there's a principle to it. And that is why
Then all the
listen to
principal
me.
secretaries should decide, because
Yeah,
is there a
but
ministry
it's
without an
it's a
audit?
principle. That is, and there's a principle behind it. Michael Gitonga, what is the principle? That the principle is that for there to appear to be justice, you cannot be investigated while you're still in office because you could interfere with the investigation. You know what? There are people whose bail has not been given. Why has the bail been refused? The bail has been refused for some people because you're told you might interfere with the witnesses. Okay. Now, if you are being investigated and you're suspended, it doesn't mean you're guilty. So you cannot blow hot and cold at the same time.
Because of
I
time,
hope you
we'll-
understand.
we'll-
I hope you
Mutula should
understand
do
now.
that.
Yes.
It's
Because
only
Now you
of
Mutula
understand.
should do
I
that.
understand. Because of
Good.
time, we'll need to wind it up. And the IEBC, I believe, today is sitting down and are going to give new timelines.
Yes.
And for us to finish off, what are you expecting? What is it that maybe we should have? And what is cast in stone? You've already mentioned the 8th of August, that cannot move.
No, it can't.
Other things in between may be forced because of circumstances to move. But what would you expect them to give us today?
I expect that the best Christmas gift we can have this year is that this process is completed. They should leave the approvals to be done either at the end of the year. If we have to suspend our holidays, let's do so. Come back and approve the commissioners or the chairman for purposes of forwarding to the president. The best thing that the president can do on 1st of January 2017 is not a lavish party. You know, those mapocho-pochos they offer people, is a commission.
In place.
In place.
Okay. Bwana Kiraithe, Christmas gift for you in December
My
now.
Christmas gift is that there are civil servants within IEBC who actually do the work.
And the secretariat.
And the secretariat. I want this secretariat, basically those secretariat are civil servants if we don't politicize them too much. I expect them to be doing a very diligent job. And a job, because the first duty for these commissioners, Honorable Mutura wants for 1st of January, and I am with him on that. And I can tell you, if His Excellency the President is much more with him on that, that when they come and they do an audit, they will not tell us that tenders were convoluted. They won't tell us that the specifications for these things
were not followed.
I am very, very, very skeptical about our trust in these systems, but be that is to me, Mutula and the company made the law.
I tell you.
But
Parliament.
we shall be having a process which they will be able to carry a quick audit, take over and proceed.
All right.
Kindly, no more chicken gate. Kenyans want elections by 9
Free and fair.
of August.
All right, thank you
Free,
very much.
fair and credible.
Gentlemen, and that's Eric Kiraithe, who's the government spokesman. Thank you for joining us this morning.
And if Kiraithe says there's no more chicken gate, I have nothing useful to add.
There's no more chicken gate. And also Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., Senator from Makueni County, thank you for joining us this morning. And thank you for giving me an early Christmas gift, which I will
The
ensure that I
Election
read.
Amendment Law.
Yes, right here in my hand, so I can make sure that I'm up to speed with it. Now, that's where we're going to wind up our session of State of the Nation this morning. Thank you for keeping us company. Do stay with us right here on KTN News. However, those of us on KTN Home, today is Thursday. It's Inspirational Thursday. So don't you know, for those of us on KTN News, we've got